Right then, I'll move on to our next speaker. So up next is our speaker, Felix. Whenever you're ready, unmute your mic. The floor is yours.
Thanks. So the question is, I want to remind everyone, is it acceptable for the creator to demand payment before the work is completed? And a lot of people have been talking about taking advantage of the customer, but I want to focus a little bit on taking advantage of the creator, because there's a lot of sketchy ground there, especially with art. But let me just kind of dive in. I believe it's more acceptable of a creator to demand payment before the work is completed. But I think it's more appropriate to focus on which is better for both parties. So let's go through some of the options. If you pay up front, the pros, you discuss exactly what product you want, discuss a price, discuss a time frame, get references. Are they popular? Are they credible? What quality product are they likely to give you? Stuff like that. Cons, like it's been said before, it's not always a guarantee of the product you want. Not exactly, but I mean, at least you'll have a understanding of what it might be. But there's a risk involved. They may take the money and run if they're not credible, if they're not reliable, if people don't know them. There's no guarantee of time frame. If something comes up in their life and you set a time frame, they may end up deciding that they're going to extend the time frame a little bit further, and you're just going to have to wait. But then again, that kind of goes back to whether it's worth getting quality or whether just getting the art. There's a lot of different kind of variables in there. And they may lie about the references or give biased references. So they may only show you their good work and not their bad. And you don't know how often they create actual good quality pieces compared to all their bad ones, because they may have hundreds, thousands of bad pieces and then just a couple of good ones that they're only displaying. And then looking at paying afterwards, some of the pros are the client determines whether it's good enough. The final price is negotiable for the client and for the artist or for the creator. If they don't like it, don't pay, or just don't give them give them the art for what they're offering. And the client kind of determines, the time frame determines basically all factors and tells the creator what they want, and the creator can determine whether they want to do that or not. Cons, a lot of it is for the creator, because if the client decides that they don't want the piece, they're out resources, they're out time, like they've wasted their efforts. It's a lot of negatives. But I'm trying to wrap this up. The difference between them is control. If you get the payment before, both parties have control, the customer and the creator. If you choose a creator that is well-known, reliable, credible, knowledgeable, they have experience, you can test their knowledge, you can discuss all the kind of different factors. After you pay them, and it isn't a good piece of art, if it's not quality, it's encouraged to discredit them, to tell people that you didn't like their work. And honestly, the creator themselves should encourage it too, so that they can even earn experience from that as well and say, oh, okay, so you didn't like that. Now I know more people don't like, this specific thing. And you can also try and offer to fix it. And the creator's paid and happy and motivated right off the bat. And sure, there's always the potential of there being someone who's sketchy and may just take the money and run, but that may be your fault as the customer. You have to find people who are credible. That's not the client's job to give proof of why you should believe them. That's kind of your job, into digging that out and finding a good person to trust. And if they try and discredit you, you can back yourself up with other like the piece that you created, and have others determine whether it was fair to discredit you. And if it does become controversial, free advertising. More people are aware of who you are and may open up to more demand on what you do, because not very many artists are that well known. And I mean, payment before, there's always a lot more, to me, a lot more trust between parties, and I mean, it's a little bit better. So that's my argument. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right. Do you have any questions? We do. We have quite a few. Right. Up first, Waffle.
Thank you. I have a question. Why should it be? Why should the commissioner have to place all the trust in the artist and not the artist into placing their trust into the commissioner?
Placing trust in the customer?
Why does the customer have to place all their trust in the artist, where the artist doesn't have to trust the customer?
By the time that you've determined who your creator is going to be for whatever type of piece that you want or whatever product, you should know, or you should already trust them by their work and by what you've discovered from who they are. And I mean, there's plenty of reviews online, and you can look them up. You just have to know what you're doing before going into it.
Right. Thank you. So, Zakalo.
My question is, what do you think about the customers paying for the artist's time instead of the art piece? And if there's a miscommunication that is, not that is, mutual or something, that isn't an artist completely skipping over something, that the customer should pay for edits made?
I actually really like this question. So yeah, there can be a lot of different miscommunications, and you may not get exactly what you want, but that's the gamble you take. I mean, it's a mutual kind of trust between the client and the customer, and you have to try and figure out as much as possible. And it's not, a lot of people think, oh, once you get the piece, that's it, you're done. But a lot of the time, the client is, at least from my experience, is a lot more flexible. If you don't get something that you like, you can always go back to him and say, hey, can you fix this? Or, I mean, really what I wanted was, something else like this. And they can always go back to it, and you can choose to have more time spent on it. Or if the client doesn't want to put any more time into it, you can discredit them. That is, if you chose someone that's popular and well known, because then people say, oh wow, maybe that's someone we shouldn't go with. And then people just, it's less likely that you're going to choose someone who's shady, because people know who they are. But going back to kind of putting the trust in the time frame, that's something that should be determined up front and before you actually make a payment. And when you're discrediting them, you can say, look, this is what I wanted, and they completely went away from that.
I completely agree. Yeah, that's actually a really good comeback to that. To add to that, I forgot to add to that. What do you think about the artists when they do the edits, that they have like 1 or 2 free edits before it comes to a certain money amount?
Okay. Moving on. Simba, whenever you're ready.
Hello, thank you very much for your speech. So, in business, generally in the real world, it's very accepted that if a buyer hires someone to create a product, then payment is given on delivery. And if it doesn't meet the specifications required, then the buyer negotiates a lower price or declines the product. Why should furry art be any different to the rest of the business world?
Actually, a lot of businesses starting to go toward pull strategy, which I don't want to get too far into it, but there's a lot of different marketing strategies for push and pull. Push is basically what it sounds like. You push the product to be bought through showing why someone needs it, negotiating whatever it makes, whatever is appealing to the eye, etc. You can make it look good. And pull is basically allowing others to seek you out and find your product through advertising and word of mouth and promotions, discounts, stuff like that. And kind of going back to why it's more important to
Well,
to
if
pull.
if I may stop you, that's actually a marketing strategy. That's nothing to do with payment.
Oh, I thought you were going for marketing.
No,
for the
no,
last
no.
part.
No. I'm saying, why should furry art be different in the sense? Why should people pay up front when in the rest of the business world we pay afterwards? I'm not talking about marketing, to be very clear.
Actually, the most of the business that I'm aware of, at least I'm in manufacturing. I like to do lean methods, and that's why I brought up pull and push, is because pull, you actually give the price amount first, and you say, this is what I am available to do, and the client can determine the resources and effort and time needed to be able to create it. So it's a lot easier for the client to figure things out and give you a quality product that you enjoy, rather than just kind of paying afterwards and saying no, because that hurts the client. That's just, I mean, you're not going to find people like that. That's just going to hurt them.
Okay, I mean that doesn't reflect my experience with lean practices, but yeah, that'll do. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Waffle, do you have another question?
I do.
Whenever you're ready.
So about artists being paid first, in my opinion, they should be paid last. I'm just questioning this because I'd like to ask if the product isn't up to standards and they didn't think, although they can go and say, well, I didn't like this artist because they didn't do what I had wanted, it still doesn't really fix the problem. Still have this piece of art that, right? And although the artist may go and edit this, there's nothing to actually guarantee they'll edit this. And on the other hand, I'd like to also ask you, what are your thoughts on something like them getting it done in a timely manner? What's to say that they might take months to do a piece that should take, in theory, a week and a half at most, and they get their payment up front instead of being paid at the end? Wouldn't being paid at the end provide them with more of a time constraint, showing that if you want the money, if you need it now, please, like, don't waste time, don't dilly-dally on this.
Yeah, honestly, that just sounds mean. You're putting a lot of pressure on someone, saying, hey, either you get this done or you don't get to eat. And if you don't do it in the time that I determine, and the time that and the quality that I expect, you're just not going to get paid. That's a lot of pressure on someone. That is, to me, it just seems unfair. You can certainly find someone, and someone might accept it, but I doubt a lot of people would be very open to that.
I think you took it slightly the wrong way. What I meant by that was, what's like, so you pay the artist up, right? It's guaranteed you're going to get it. They're reputable. But what's to say they won't just waste time because they already have the money? Whereas,
No,
in my opinion, if they were paid last, they would have a goal to work towards. They'd have like right. Whereas if you pay them up front, they don't really have that reward to work to. There's nothing to really say, let's do it right the first time so that I can get paid right away and I'll have that money, because they already have that money. It's more of a, let's get this done whenever, and let's kind of, I don't have to do super good because I already got.
That's an absolute. Well, that's an absolute risk. But the thing that you have to do as a customer, you have to find someone who's reliable and who you know is going to actually deliver on time with the quality that you want, rather than someone who's going to dilly-dally and just take your money. And even if you did choose someone who's well-known and credible, then you can actually tell people, hey, look, this person sucks. Let's move on to someone else, because money. And you could show people why not to do that, and that just kind of lessens the amount of people that are shady, and find a better artist who can actually deliver.